part of all I earn was mine to keep. Arkad stared at him. He said, "But all I earn is mine, is it not?" And Algamish said, "Do you keep it?" That question, "Do you keep it?" landed like a stone dropped in still water. Because of course Arkad didn't keep it. His money went to the baker, the sandal maker, the landlord, the wine seller. Every coin that entered his hand was already promised to someone else before it arrived. His income was a river that flowed straight through him, as if he were a channel, not a destination. Algamish told him one thing: before you pay the baker, before you pay the landlord, before you pay anyone, take one coin out of every 10 you earn and set it aside. That coin is yours, not the baker's, not the landlord's, yours. And you do this first, not last, because if you wait until everyone else is paid, there will never be anything left. Now here's what makes this interesting. That rule, pay yourself first, 1/10 of your income, automatically, before anything else, was written on clay tablets in ancient Babylon. And it is, word for word, the exact same rule that a man with round glasses and an old grey sweater set up in 2004, when he opened a brokerage account and sent $75 a month into an index fund on the 3rd of every month, before rent, before groceries, before anything. Arkad called it, "Part of all I earn is mine to keep." The modern version calls it an automatic transfer. The principle hasn't changed in 3,500 years. The technology has. The principle hasn't. And that should tell you something about how fundamental this idea really is. Arkad did what Algamish told him. He saved one coin in 10. And at the end of the first year, he looked at his small pile of gold and felt underwhelmed. 10% of a scribe's salary, saved for 12 months, was still a scribe's savings. This is the moment. And every honest financial story has this moment, where the saver looks at the number and thinks this can't possibly be worth it. But Algamish had given him a second rule, and it was this: budget thy necessities. Confess not to determination every desire and call it necessity. In modern language, stop pretending your wants are your needs. Arkad realized that he spent money on things he called necessary that were, honestly, just comfortable. The slightly better sandals. The wine that was a step above the cheapest. The rooms that were a street closer to the market. None of these were survival. They were the ancient Babylonian version of the upgraded phone plan, the subscription you forgot to cancel, the car that's one trim level above what you actually need. And here's the uncomfortable echo in the modern world. You know a man named Dave. You've met him before. Dave's truck costs $840 a month. Dave would tell you the truck is a necessity. What Dave means is that the truck is now normal, and normal and necessary feel identical from the inside. Arkad's second rule is simply this: learn to tell them apart. Not to live like a monk. To live like someone who knows the difference between what they need and what they've gotten used to. But saving alone was never the point. Algamish came back a year later and asked Arkad what he'd done with his savings. And Arkad, proud of himself, told him he'd given the entire pile to a brickmaker named Asmur, who had promised to travel to distant lands and buy rare jewels they could sell together for enormous profit. Algamish went quiet. Then he said, "You trusted your gold to a brickmaker's knowledge of jewels." The jewels, of course, turned out to be worthless colored glass. Every coin, gone. Arkad had learned Rule 1 and Rule 2, but he had failed Rule 3, make thy gold multiply. But only by putting it to work in ways you actually understand. This is the rule that separates savers from builders. Saving puts money aside. Investing puts money to work. But investing with the wrong person, in the wrong deal, on the wrong advice, is not investing. It's donating to someone else's education. The modern version of the brickmaker selling glass jewels. It's your brother-in-law's franchise opportunity. It's the coworker who has a guaranteed crypto play. It's the friend who's absolutely sure this stock is about to triple. Remember Kyle, the one who called on a Thursday night with a once-in-a-lifetime deal? Kyle was Arkad's brickmaker, separated by 3,000 years and nothing else. Algamish's actual advice was simpler than it sounds: put your gold where people who understand gold tell you to put it. In Babylon, that meant established grain merchants and shipping traders. Boring, proven, unglamorous businesses. In the modern world, it means a broad index fund, the most boring, proven, unglamorous investment ever invented. The kind of thing nobody brags about at a dinner party, and the kind of thing that quietly builds more wealth than almost anything people do brag about. After the brickmaker disaster, Arkad started over. Same 1/10, same discipline. But this time, Algamish gave him the fourth rule, and it's the one most people skip when they summarize this book, which is strange, because it might be the most important one. Guard thy treasure from loss. Invest only where thy principal is safe. where it may be reclaimed if desirable, and where thou will not fail to collect a fair rental. Translation: don't chase the highest return. Chase the safest reasonable return. The difference between 7% reliably and 15% theoretically is that the 7% actually exists in 30 years, and the 15% exists in a sales pitch. This was the rule that changed Arkad's trajectory. He stopped looking for jewels and started investing with established cattle traders. Slow returns. Predictable. Boring. The exact things that make most people's eyes glaze over are the exact things that made Arkad the richest man in Babylon. Not the cleverest investor, the most consistent one. And if that sounds familiar, it should. $75 a month. An index fund, the third of every month. The machine runs, the returns are average, and average, compounded without interruption for decades, beats exceptional interrupted by panic, mistakes, and glass jewels almost every single time. The fifth rule was different. Algamish said, "Make of thy dwelling a profitable investment." In Babylon, this meant owning the walls you sleep inside, because rent is a river that flows away from you forever. In the modern world, this rule is more nuanced. Owning isn't always better than renting, depending on where you live, how long you stay, and what the math actually says. But the deeper principle survives: don't let the place you live drain wealth from you invisibly. Whether that means buying a modest home instead of renting a flashy apartment, or renting cheaply and investing the difference, the rule is the same. Your shelter should be a financial decision, not just an emotional one. By his middle years, Arkad was wealthy beyond anything a scribe could have imagined. But here is the part that most summaries of this book miss entirely. The part that matters more than all 5 rules combined. Algamish didn't give Arkad 5 rules because 5 rules build wealth. He gave Arkad 5 rules because 5 rules build a different kind of person. The gold was never the point. The person who earns, saves, invests carefully, protects what they've built, and makes intentional decisions about where they live. That person doesn't need a book anymore. They don't need an advisor. They don't need a guru. The rules didn't make Arkad rich. They made Arkad into someone who couldn't help becoming rich. And that's where this story catches up to the present. Because somewhere today, there's a man in a grey sweater who set up a $75 transfer 22 years ago. He doesn't own a copy of this book. He's never heard of Algamish. He wouldn't know Babylon from Baltimore. But he pays himself first, before rent, before groceries, every single month. He knows the difference between what he needs and what he's gotten used to. He puts his money into something boring and proven and never touches it. He doesn't chase the brickmaker's jewels, no matter how convinced Kyle sounds on the phone. And he made sure the place he lives doesn't quietly eat his future. 5 rules. No book. The same result, 3,500 years later. Because the rules were never really about money. They were about becoming the kind of person who handles money a certain way, and then letting time do what time does. George Clason published The Richest Man in Babylon in 1926. He set it in ancient Babylon because he wanted to make a point that most readers miss. These ideas aren't new. They weren't new in 1926. They weren't new in 1500 BC. They are so old that the only possible explanation for why they still work is that they are wired into something deeper than markets, deeper than economics, into the way human beings relate to patience, discipline, and the future version of themselves. Every generation thinks it needs a new system, a new strategy, a new hack, and every generation discovers, somewhere around year 3 of their boring monthly transfer, that the system was already written on clay tablets in a dead empire by a man who copied other people's words for a living until he finally understood the only words that mattered. A part of all you earn is yours to keep. Everything else is commentary. If you're building your own quiet machine, or thinking about starting one, there are more honest timelines where this one came from. Welcome to the quiet path.